Hi guys, can you hear me? So guys, when I got the topic of collaboration, I asked Sumessh, Vivek and Farah their perspective on collaboration. And surprisingly, all three of them had really diverse answers from each other. So the background is that Vivek is from the architectural background, Sumessh is from commercial interior design, and Farah is an art curator. And all their perspectives were so different that I thought, why not let their perspectives on different, on collaboration through their different diverse verticals come through. So I would love to hear from you guys what you all think about collaboration.
I'm very good with collaboration as long as I'm calling the shots. Simple as that. You know, I'm an architect who believes that
You started
already.
collaboration.
No, I know. So I am an architect who believes that already we've ceded a lot of ground to other disciplines without their having any stake in it. You know, PMCs are, for one example, who do nothing except just writing a mail and holding you
Very
responsible.
good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I request one and all to please be
Vivek is
present at
speaking.
Zone C.
I was going to give you a lot of gyan, but the chain of thought is gone, so now at your own risk. Anyways, I was just saying that as an architect, you know, we feel that in the fraternity, I feel that we've lost a lot of ground to other disciplines without them having any stake in it. So as an architect who's supposed to be, I'm an old school, so I feel that as master craftsman, it is our entire responsibility to conceive a project and take it up to the end, right in the manner and the thought process that one had conceived it. Somewhere in collaborations, you lose that, because everybody comes with their own discordant note at times because they cannot be always at the same page as the original creator has been. But at the same time, I would like to say that I collaborate with the client, because he's the foremost, he's the most important guy. It's his vision that we are trying to convert into, which is very true when you're working with an individual client. Somebody like me who does a lot of institutional work, there is no client, in fact, because the space program is given by the client. But after that, when we work with the governments, the project timings are very long. Maybe they'll go on for 6 years. There's a lot of change of regime, sometimes change of the secretary or whatever. So the onus, again, is always on the architect. We have to take the project right from the beginning to the end in the true sense. So I collaborate with the client. The next thing that I have to collaborate, which all architects need to do, is to collaborate with the climate that you're building in. Because I think that's the biggest challenge that we have. It's not about getting a team together of people who work in diverse fields, but it is important to collaborate with the climate that you're working in, because you cannot at any point in time be against the climate. In India, luckily you work across different climatic zones. We've done the entire, literally, I would say town in Leh, the entire assembly, secretariat, degree college, governor's house, the Indian Institute of Astrophysics, to Rajasthan where I belong, creating those diverse climate. So I collaborate with the climate because that is the end product that I get out of the climate. And the third thing that I collaborate is the context that I'm creating, because we work in diverse kind of fields. We work on institutional projects, we do townships, we do large IT parks. So the context is very important. You cannot be out of context at any point in time when you are creating, because every creation of yours is going to outlast. It's not your collaborator. They may change tomorrow. But you, as an architect who's taking the onus, needs to ensure that your end product is exactly the way you had conceived it. So that is where I am. Sumessh.
So I can't talk so much as he did. I definitely, as the client is king, so you need to give that importance to the client. But we warn him and we tell him that we are collaborating with artisans, and if there is a successful project today, SMA is done, it's thanks to collaboration. So we get artisans, we get lighting designers, and all of that put together. It's like a band. It's with your guitarists, violinists, all that put together is a successful band. So I give a lot of importance to collaboration. Yeah?
Yeah, of course I agree with both of you, but I think going back in history and in time, I mean, human beings cannot work in isolation. Uh, there is no way that one person can think of an idea and then it'll be brought to life magically, whether it's an architecture or an art. So when we work with artists, we tell them, you know, leave your creative part, we leave that to you. You know, we will help you market your work. As curators, we can sort of guide you in the right direction. We can give you our intellectual input into your work. But there is no, the age of competition is over. And it is the age of collaboration, whether it's in design or architecture or in art, in every field of art. And also, I mean, if you look at the greatest monuments in the world or in India, let's say at the Taj Mahal, you've had, you know, different people collaborating. But there was an atelier as well. So yes, there's a captain of the ship, but there cannot work in isolation.
Fair. And you know, you were telling me about the elephant parade that you guys did. That's a collaboration that can actually lead to social change and so much impact. So would you want to talk about what impact that collaborations like that on a large scale can actually do for society and in the art world?
Sure. So, you know, Elephant Family is charity, UK-based charity, which was spearheaded by Prince Charles at the time. Now he's king. And when they came to me to curate the first parade in India, their sort of curatorial premise internationally is very different. They want to only work with artists. And what we said is that, look, we don't believe there's a big difference between an architect or a designer or a vernacular indigenous artist. So that's why the 101 elephants were across design disciplines. So I had, you know, artists from Gond, you know, Gond artists. I had architects. I had interior designers, because I feel that creativity, I had fashion designers. So I had all of them with their own sort of unique design sensibility. And all of them brought something very unusual to the table. And that's how I think that the parade was very successful, and there was something for everyone there. Well, yeah, that is the power of creativity. You know, it can, I mean, it's a conservation project. It's not an art project. Art is used as a means to relate to the idea of conservation. But yeah, so that is a collaboration in itself. Thank you. Thank you. Hopefully we'll do another one. Let's see.
No, so it was great. So my thought behind that was how you brought the whole collaboration together for a cause, and that was really amazing. I wanted to understand you guys, because you all work with so many different agencies from such diverse backgrounds. Of course, there are multiple challenges that come in. Basically, what are the key factors that you would say lead to a successful collaborative project? Like you said, while building, there has to be an orchestrator. So, but what is a successful project? What leads to it?
So, you know, it's a combination, like Sumessh is saying. So there is an orchestration that happens. As an architect, I am the orchestra person who's got the entire band which is playing the same tune or whatever I'm guiding them to do. But then as an architect, unlike Sumessh, what he's saying, what I need to do is also look at the auditorium that I'm playing in. If the acoustics are right or not, my band could be fantastic, but if the auditorium is not good, if the acoustics are not good, it's no good. So I think, again, that's the entire ecosystem that makes a project good. So as an architect, if I just miss out as an orchestrator, I just look at the band that I'm playing with, and I don't look at the rest of the stuff, which is the climate or the context that I was talking about. And if you go to Italy and you start playing local music or playing something like that, or people don't understand opera here in India, so it's like that. So the context has to be correct. And the climate which I spoke about is the entire context of having an auditorium with correct acoustic lighting, which is like hitting my eye right now, making me look, you know, blind almost. But that's exactly, so, you know, this is what collaboration does to you. One wrong discordant note can spoil that.
I agree, yeah. So there is no magic pill to this. All collaborations always don't go right. That little risk factors till the end, keep fingers crossed, and it's a hit or miss sometimes. So we also don't want to be repetitive. We try and work with different people, but it all doesn't always go well. And you see something presented to you in a form of a render, a sketch, mock-up, sample, but it's not 100%. So there is always an element of risk, and that's something that we need to take responsibility and not the client. We can't keep playing with clients' money. And for us in hospitality, the biggest challenge is two. One is timelines and one is budget. The client will just call and tell me, listen, I've just signed this, come in the morning, let's do this. We've got about 90 days. Now, in 90 days, I put a project together, design it, do renders, call the right artisans to collaborate with you. And yeah, so it's collaboration is good, but there's always a huge challenge to it.
So, going forward with this, like y'all are churning out such large-scale projects consistently. Of course, through the years, you've developed a system that creates better collaborations. So what sort of system do you think we could sort of improvise on further that helps everybody go further with more successful collaborations and less with the whole drawbacks and challenges that we face today?
So see, it's essentially the project. So the project is the hero. You know, rest everybody is just there to contribute towards it. So the team, like Sumessh is saying, is extremely important. And when we do large-scale projects, we do projects where the MEP is, in fact, for me, the structure is the biggest hero. And also the structure is something that I don't understand anything about. I'm completely dependent on the structural engineer. A structural engineer who can reduce steel consumption by 1 kg will reduce the per square foot cost by almost 150 rupees. You know, that's a lot of money. So you always collaborate with people that you're confident about, and unlike Sumessh, I can go on repeating them, you know, because they have been trained in working with us. There is a lot of to and fro. So the team is well bound together because they understand my design intent, they understand my design language. Also, MEPs on very large projects are very, very, you know, if you look at this building, I think the MEP is the hero here because, you know, look at the height, look at the lighting, look at the air conditioning that's been required. So there has been a team behind, of course, goes without saying. But if they were looking at different parameters, if the architect was looking at a different parameter, he wanted a height of 40 feet, but the air conditioning was not effective, then it will not work, or the lighting was coming on your eyes or something like that, or the acoustics were not correct. So yes, of course, collaboration is there. You can't work. I'm not jack of all. So I need to have people who are together with me, make a team of those people and work with collaboration. And also then innovate for a project together. You know, there is a learning after every project. You know where you've gone wrong. And nobody else will own it up because, you know, everybody is a stakeholder. But as an architect, I know that I messed up with this guy here because this ceiling did not give me the efficient air conditioning that I wanted. So collaboration with one person calling the shot and also being the deciding factor, I think, at least for me, that's the way forward. And that's the only
back
way.
in the days, we used to call them consultants. Today, they are collaborators. That's the shift that's happened. We always had lighting consultants back in the days. Today, I call them collaborators. Yeah, but I work with Rhea, but I don't give her all my projects. I keep telling her, come up with something new. And even clients tell, you're not going to fill the whole house with only Rhea's collection. I said, no. So we are constantly looking at artisans from all over to, you know, work it. Even in one project, I'll try and get 2 and 3 lighting designers. And it is a mess at times, but eventually it works well.
I like to sort of reiterate what Vivek said is that the project is always the hero. And for any hero, you need an engine, so, or the captain of the ship. So in 2013, 2014, I worked on an amazing project, which sort of makes sense to discuss here. It's called the Be Open Foundation. It's the only design foundation in the world. It's a Swiss design foundation, founded by a Russian heiress, Italian consultants. The project was in India, and so I was sort of spearheading it for them in India. And we got Anupama Kundu, who's also a dear friend and a very celebrated architect. She was living at the time in Australia, moving to Berlin, and we put this project together in amazing speed and efficiency, even though you know, everybody was in different countries, speaking different languages. And one of the things that was the learning out of that project was so beautiful, and it's something that I've repeated several times in giving credit, is when Anu sort of unveiled this beautiful space that she designed. She had all the names of the karigars and the workers who worked on the stone, that's her specialization. And then in the end, she wrote with Anupama Kundu. And that was it was such an amazing thing. And we try and do that with a lot of our projects now.
Yeah.
You know, I do also a lot of work in ceramic, and we have a wonderful studio now in Raigarh, and we have all women artisans there. And this is what we want to do, is that we want to give all of them the status that the designer also gets. You know, they have to be brought up. You have to lift the craftsman. I think that's one of the things that, you know, education or formal education should bring.
And I've even seen you tag a lot of people when you're collaborating and giving them the credit that they're supposed to get. So do you have any thoughts about that and how we should, as an industry, moving on, do that and basically give people the credit that they sort of?
For sure, that's the only way they'll grow. That's so, encouraging, and, they also are seen in the market, all of that. Another thing in collaboration, I feel, collaborations go wrong, and what we've learned out of it, when you're designing lights with like you, I will not get in the middle of it. Minute I sit and tweak it and try and, get the whole line changed, and eventually it's a failure. I've seen that too many times, yeah. I don't know, correct me wrong.
No, absolutely. That's why I'm saying that for us, it's slightly different, that you're going with also cost in large projects is a very, very important thing. So you have to see that your costs are correct. So that tandem happens right at the conception, because, once you start with BOQs and you've given the tenders out, then there's no tweaking. Unlike a 90-day project, there could be a lot of tweaking that can happen. You could, instead of buying a prop, you could buy another kind of a prop. But in this case, everything is cast in stone from day one, because in cost overruns is something that no client likes to have, and also the project suffers overall. So you need to, that's the reason perhaps, I sound that I'm not for collaborations, but because I just feel that everybody has to be equal stakeholder. And I think it's only my neck which is on the chopping block. So I need to guard that, it's as simple as that. And only because of that reason, I say I'm the orchestrator who's also responsible for the end product. And as long as that is met with costings, with effective job being done by each one, full credit to everybody. Like I said, I wouldn't be anything without a structural engineer, because that's a domain that I just don't understand. But how much difference he can make to my building, I always tell Sanjay Puri, what kind of a structural engineer, he's allowing you 50 feet cantilever or 30, in Delhi. So the answer that I get, when I spoke to some of the Bombay structural engineer, they said, we get 25 rupees, we work with the builder because we are saving his money. You give us 5 rupees, this is what you'll get. So, again, it's whole thing is about costing and everything like that. So the mission is to do a project well, but to do it at a certain cost in certain timelines. Architect is the boss.
Thank you.
What is your conclusive, as an interior designer? So he gave the architectural perspective.
No,
And
sometimes we show a kind of presentation and it's worked on a certain timeline and a certain budget. And as the project takes off, you realize that the client has cut the budget half, and then we're doing all shortcuts, cutting corners. And then you can see that, and then the blame game starts. So we've realized over the years, like if there's something like that happening, rather put a stop to the project, but don't take it up, and then you're left, with all the like a shoddy job that's seen, and then you start blaming the collaborator and then the designer to it. Yeah.
so rather give it a hard stop before
Absolutely.
that happens. And what would you want to conclude as an art curator in lines of collaboration?
Well, can you hear me? My work can definitely not be in any sort of isolation. As a curator, like I said before, you're really like an engine of the project, whether you're working with the artists or your clients, if you're building collections, if you're working on a exhibition, a large-scale exhibition. So of course, collaborations are very important, but like Vivek said, that there has to be one person who is leading this project and who has to have a very independent perspective on things as well, because when you're working in the creative industry, there's so much emotion going around as creators that there has to be somebody who has a very heart of stone and has to be a little more firm, because with creative industries, you know, it can go either way, with you don't having the reins in your hand.
Thank you so much, guys. I hope you guys all enjoyed this talk. And we are now soon starting our next talk. So stay where you are. We are coming back.